All right, all right. All right, all right. It's that time. Everybody. All right. If you will. I mean, listen to the introduction. That makes it more dramatic.
You in charge.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of what the streets have deemed to be Big Dog Tuesday. That's right. Oh yeah, whole lineup all year actually. Live from the Harvey Gantt Design Belmont Regional Center here at 700 Parkway Avenue, the prestigious Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, serving Charlotte as the premier source of information for well over 50 years. I am Winston Robinson, facilitator, along with co-facilitators, Ms. Laura McClellan, Ms. Carlenia Ivory Canty, Ms. Jackie Edwards Walton, Ms. Natalie McElrath, Mrs. Mary Jonathan, Mr. Shea Abdullah, Mr. Gary Young, Ms. Jasmine Wright, Ms. Aretha Sherrill, our website editor and archivist, Mr. Steve Johnson, and a one-man house band, Dr. Thomas. Yeah. Thank you. Our forum runs from 8:30 to 9:45 a.m., at which time we will pause for announcements from the audience. Announcements can also be sent to Steve at sjohnston at TuesdayForumCharlotte.org. That's Johnston with a T. As is tradition, we always begin with a prayer. This morning, we are honored to have Mr. Ken Coons, lead us in the word. Come on, Bishop. Bishop Coons, come on up here. Keep doing this. We'll find your congregation.
First of all, I want to dispel the rumors. Y'all see my Friendship Baptist Church t-shirt, and y'all know that my pastor's getting older. And I want to dispel any rumors that they've asked me to consider taking over when he retires. And I told them no, because a lot of y'all, no. But I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. I'm going to stay in my lane as the bishop. Y'all don't have bishop. But nonetheless, it's a truly blessing to be here with all these beautiful people who reflect so much of Mecklenburg County. And I am honored to be here. Not just honored, but it's truly a blessing for each of us. So thank you all for coming, and for those of you who are in our viewing audience this morning, may blessings be unto you as well. And we got a couple of latecomers coming here just in time for the bishop's prayer, so y'all can sit down. And for those of you who don't come here often or haven't heard before, you know, I'm not really a bishop. I haven't been ordained yet, but it's coming. And I appreciate your being here with us this morning. So let's bow our heads. Hey, how we can pray over here.
I'm in the choir.
You're in the choir. Lord, please take me serious this morning. I'm just saying, you know me. Let's bow our heads. Dear Father, we thank you again for another beautiful day that you have made. Let us all rejoice and be glad in it. But not just be glad in it, oh God, but to be that instrument of your peace, that we'll be the shining example of what you would have us to be. And not only just what you would have us to be, oh God, but that all you've given us the power to be, may it be consistent with what you would have us to be. Lord, there's so much that we can ask you about this morning, but what's the point? You already know. And in that knowing, oh God, we also trust. We trust that you are in control, and that whatever betides, God will make a way. And for this, oh Lord, we thank you for this day. We pray for your continued blessings. And may the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Combs. Bishop, excuse me, Reverend Doctor, Professor. If we have anyone with us for the first time, please introduce yourself as well as any affiliations you would like to acknowledge. All right.
Right here.
There we go. Okay, yeah, I know. I was looking at that. I'll go wait to say something. Okay. Got a mic right beside you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Namrata Yadav, and this is my first time. A friend told me about this forum, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you for joining us. Jazz, we got a few more. Yes, please, don't let this be your last time.
Good morning. This thing on?
Good morning, my name is Shannon Vins, and this is my first forum. I just learned about it fairly recently as well. I'm the founder and executive director of Sustain Charlotte, a local nonprofit. Glad to be here.
Good morning. My name is Suzette Nudridge. I am the Public Information Director for Mecklenburg County. It is my first time, but this is a legendary organization and moment, and I'm here to support my county manager, Bryant.
Good morning. I'm Robin Edmonds. This is not my first forum. It is my first forum in this format, so I'm happy to return. I have been attending the breakfast meetings since Sarah Stevenson running them way back in the day. I don't have any affiliation immediately, but I am announcing my candidacy as an independent running for District 3 officially today, and it's my birthday, so.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. What a way to spend your birthday, right? The Sarah Stevenson Tuesday forum. All right, y'all, so following our presentations, we will take questions from the audience. Please raise your hand and we will add your name to a list. And I will call your name in the order in which your name was added to said list. Questions should be questions. Questions should be no longer than 30 seconds. Responses no longer than 2 minutes. We do not go back and forth. The answer you receive is the answer you will have to accept. We abide by the West Side Rules of Order, in which it is what it is. We have a timekeeper, Ms. Natalie McElrath. She will signal 30-second warning, and if necessary, time's up when limits are met. Without further ado, two-time graduate of one of those handful of HBCUs that wishes they could be the Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina Central. Shout out to Coach McClendon, Julius Chambers, so many others, Denny King, legendary institution. Over 20 years of service with Mecklenburg County, fresh Bible residue still on his left hand, sworn in that recently. Ladies and gentlemen, new Mecklenburg County Manager, Mr. Michael Bryant. That's your microphone right there, Mr. Bryant. Slide it on, slide it on.
Listen, you all hear me?
Yes.
All right.
It's actually for the folks online.
Oh, it's for the folks online. Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Listen, I am delighted to be with you this morning. I want to, is that better? Okay, all right. I want to express my appreciation to all of the forum facilitators, Steve, Jackie, for this invitation. As it relates to Jackie and I go back over 20 years, right, Jackie? And Michael. And when the board appointed me back on April 1st, and I came to my office that following morning on April 2nd, my first voicemail message of congrats was from Jackie. Mm-hmm. And here's what's unique about that. And I still have it. I can play it for you. But if I play it for you, you're not going to understand it. Because Jackie was under the weather. She had laryngitis. And she struggled still to convey her congrats to me and my family for 2 minutes Barely, you can barely understand. The only thing I heard was Jackie Walton, and it went downhill from there. But Jackie, I just want to say publicly, thank you for your ongoing support. I appreciate it. You taking the time on April 2nd, being on the weather, and still reaching out to me to share your congratulations, so thank you for that. Now, I would be remiss also if I don't acknowledge the best bosses out there. I have, as you all know, 9 bosses, and they're phenomenal. And I'm pleased to have 2 of them with me this morning. Commissioner YTI, Commissioner Ingram, thank you for being here. And also Commissioner Griffin as well. It's a pleasure to see both of you. And then I have former Commissioner Chair as well. Mr. Rember, thank you for getting out of bed, as you told me this morning coming in. I appreciate that, and your husbands, good to see you as well. Councilman Brown, thank you for being here. Brandon, my man, it's good to see you as well. Am I missing any other elected officials? Because I don't want to make sure I'm missing anyone. Thank you all for being here, both current and former commissioners. I appreciate your ongoing engagement in public service. Thank you for that. And then also I want to recognize my former colleagues as well as current colleagues with the county. The team is over there. Kay, I don't think you introduced yourself, did you? But let me tell you, if you like my remarks this morning, thank me. If you don't, blame them. And then also Chief Collins. Y'all know former Chief Collins back here?
Morning.
Chief Collins, yeah, please give him a round of applause. Let me tell you this. Chief Collins served our community as Deputy Sheriff on with the Chief Deputy for how many years? 30 years. And you're a product of Charlotte, right? Yes. Okay. I'm just gonna ask you to remember this name. I'm not gonna say why. But I want you, in about 2 weeks, I want you to connect dots and say, Chief Collins. All right, y'all remember that?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
I ain't put you on the spot, okay? Okay. But a good guy, an exceptional guy, and you're gonna find out more about him in the coming weeks as well. So again, thank you for this invitation to be here. A little bit about myself, it was already shared in the intro. I'll go back a little further. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I am civilian, not military affiliated. I was raised by my grandmother. And the reason why I'm so thrilled about this opportunity to serve as county manager is because, as I've said before and I'll say it again, I have the unique opportunity to oversee and make decisions regarding several services that I was blessed to receive as a child growing up. And that excites me, getting up every day to know that I've been blessed with an opportunity to impact and hopefully improve the quality of life of all residents, of all 1.2 million residents in Mecklenburg County. Of course, I do this work, I don't do it alone. Of course, I do it under the leadership of my board, the support of my executive team, and 6,400 employees as well. I'm really excited about this opportunity. The other reason why, again, I'm happy to be here because you all are actually my first in-person, interview session that I'm having since being sworn in. I've done a lot of media interviews in terms of Seat Observer over there. I've done interviews with the TV stations, done some radio. I think there's a WFAE interview that's running out this morning that I did last Thursday. But in terms of in person, a group like this, you're the first, and I'm honored. And thank you for having me. In terms of my vision for Mecklenburg County, I have been on this community listening tour since April 2nd. And part of this tour, I met with all stakeholders from the faith community, the corporate community, the philanthropic community, nonprofits, and others. And the whole intent behind these meetings was to inquire about their interest to collaborate with Mecklenburg County. Because Mecklenburg County, and I'm proud to continue the legacy of great leadership that we have, going back to Jerry Fox, Harry Jones, my mentor, and Dina Diorio as well, who I hold in high regards. And we've accomplished a lot over that time. And there's still a lot of things we have to do. But the reality is, we're facing some very difficult times. You all know what the federal government just approved last week and the impact that it's gonna have on not just Mecklenburg County, but counties and cities across the country. Mecklenburg County is not unique from that. Also, we know there's some uncertainty at the state level with some things going on there. And the impact from a fiscal perspective is a lot of decisions made at the federal and state level is going to be pushed down to counties. Now, we already have a slowdown in our new revenue growth. I'm going to touch bases on this infographic that you have. But we're seeing a decline in our growth revenue. If you follow the news, you know that we recently had a tower that was valued at $96 million on Tryon Street that sold for $26 million. Valued at 90 plus million, sell for 20 some million. What does that mean for you? Okay, I have a revaluation coming up in 27, right? This is where we reassess property values. For those of you that were here during the Great Recession, 2009, you know what happened there, right? So as we and my team prepare for this next revaluation, and we're seeing swings in our values, particularly on the commercial side, swing like that, that's a concern I have. Because what's gonna happen, and I shared this with our board at the retreat in January, that shift, that impact is gonna go to the residential, right? So when you think about the declining in sales tax, the shift in property value, the slowdown in other sales tax, push from the federal government, it's a little concerning, right? So this is why I reached out to our partners to say that Mecklenburg County can no longer be all things to everyone. I cannot set Mecklenburg County on fire while keeping my neighbors warm, and I won't do that. Now listen, we're not broke. Let me be clear. We are positioned to continue to do great things, but if we're going to do it, I have to reset this organization. And that's what I'm doing. There's a couple ways I'm doing that. The first one is I'm recommitting us to performance management, right? We have cut a lot of ribbons in Mecklenburg County, opening new buildings and all of that. But we gotta shift our focus beyond cutting ribbons and focus on outcomes, right? And that's what we're gonna do. I'm putting back in place, and this is getting a little technical, but balanced scorecard. And this will allow us to keep score, to gauge our progress with investments that we're making in Mecklenburg County. So that you can hold me accountable as your manager to say, what did you do with that $25 million investment? Yeah. I need to be able to tell you what the outcomes are. How many lives have changed, all right? Now, we're doing some performance management, don't get me wrong, but there's an opportunity for us to do even more of it as well. And we're gonna do that. I'm putting that in motion. The other thing that I'm doing is a deep dive assessment of my $2.5 billion budget. We have not conducted an assessment of our budget since 2003. So just imagine how much we've added in good services, since 2003. So we gotta step back. I gotta challenge my cabinet, my leadership to say, in light of everything I just shared with you in terms of what we are as an organization and a community, how can we tighten up? What can we do differently? And yes, what can we stop doing? From a performance standpoint, from a return on investment, things of that nature, okay? So I'm sharing with you, I'm opening my playbook in terms of how I intend to lead our organization to continue to thrive and meet the needs of all of our residents, knowing that I have to reset and collaborate with our partners. And then also, and I've said this publicly as well, I know how important it is for our city manager, Marcus Jones, and I, and Superintendent Crystal Hill, to work together. Marcus, Dr. Hill, and I, read between the lines, we got a huge opportunity ahead of us. I can't squander this. I can only speak for myself. I can't squander this opportunity that Dr. Hill, Marcus Jones, and I have for this community. Just yesterday, Marcus Jones and I met to talk about the potential opportunities that we are looking into. Dr. Hill and I are meeting next week to have similar conversations. So I'm excited. So although I've shared with you the lay of the land for me, guess what? I'm embracing it. Not running away from it. I'm ready to take it on. Just like I did with the Great Recession, just like I did for COVID, supporting Dina, I'm going to do it for this period as well, because we're going to come out even more resilient, even more stronger, more accountable to all of you as an organization. Now, this hasn't gone public yet, observer, but I'll let you know. So one of the things I shared with my board on yesterday are some organizational changes, right? As well as some changes in my cabinet. And one of the changes that I'm very proud of is, and I forgot somebody hit me with a book, affordable housing. I have decided to create a new Office of Housing and Community Development for Mecklenburg County. Let me tell you why, one of the many reasons why I've done that. Currently, the great investments and initiatives that we have going on in our organization is peanut butter spread, technical term. It's spread across the entire organization. There's like 6 departments in my organization that have a piece of the housing pie. There's no accountability in terms of one individual being solely responsible for affordable housing and homelessness support. So how can I ensure that we are moving the dial in this space? I want to credit my board back in 2018, because technically, Brandon, you know this, housing is more municipal related, right? Technically. But back in 18, my board was very intentional in saying, no, this is a community issue, and we're going to step into this affordable housing space, and they've done that. They made several investments. And in doing so, those investments, they kind of fell across the entire organization. So one of the first things, as I was on not only community listening to, but meeting with my cabinet as well, because although I've been around for 22 years, it's a different conversation when you're meeting with the manager, right? And I know that. And one of the things that were very clear for me is we don't have a strategy relative to housing. Can't just keep throwing money at it, right? So my response to that is create this new housing department. I'm so excited about it because, again, it will widen our footprint in this space and make sure that we meet the expectation of my board and the community as well, and continue to be a solid partner with the city of Charlotte. The other decision I made yesterday, well, I didn't make it yesterday, but I advised my board of this decision, is I'm creating a new assistant county manager position that will be solely dedicated to upward mobility.
That's great.
And in this position, if you talk about upward mobility, you think about workforce development, economic development, the social determinants, all those things. Well, Mecklenburg County, again, in this health and human service space, a lot of work that we're doing, economic development, all these other areas, is good work. And it influences upward mobility, but again, it doesn't sit with one individual. Now, I'm accountable for it as manager, but I need someone responsible for it. And that's what that ACM, that assistant county manager, is going to be responsible for. National search is about to kick off under one of my deputy county managers, Dr. Leslie Johnson, done a phenomenal job for me. And I'm really excited about that opportunity to have someone in Mecklenburg County that is going to assist me and our board with leading the charge relative to upward mobility as well. So more to come on that. I won't share the other updates that I shared with my board, more to come on that regarding some organizational changes, performance reporting to me as well. But those are 2 that I wanted to make you all aware of, that I'm really excited about in the near future, that is going to help me serve you as your county manager. Now, in addition to the vision I shared with you, my board priorities are my priorities as well, right? So education, economic development, health, wellness, you name it, social, senior services, education as well. Their priorities are my priorities, and we're going to continue to focus on that. And my intent with the implementation of this scorecard. My intent with the implementation of this scorecard that it will all align seamlessly and that we'll have SMART goals that will help identify the investments, the actions, the strategies that support the priorities, as well as the balanced scorecard. When you think about the balanced scorecard, just think about a dozen or so goals for this community: affordable housing, economic development, jobs, education. Those will be the desired results for this community, and they'll be supported by strategies and actions that my partners, as well as my departments in the organization, will be responsible for. The last thing I'll share with you is, at the conclusion of those meetings I had with those partners, so we can take questions. How I'm doing on time?
Perfect.
All right. You good? You didn't play anything on the piano yet? Thanks, sir. All right. So one of the things I did with the community partners is, as part of my conversation, asking them to commit to partnering with Mecklenburg County for the reason that I've shared with you. I followed with them because they said yes, and I invited them to a meeting in November, a community meeting, so we can put our words to action, right? The invitation went out 2 weeks ago. There's going to be some others that will partake in this meeting too. But the whole point, I don't want another steering committee. I don't want another report. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for these community leaders' time and commitment. I don't even want their dollars yet. But I need their time. Dr. Hill, I need their time. Marcus Jones, I need their time. Okay? Bank of America President, it goes on. Charlotte Regional Alliance, all these folks, the pastors, are going to convene with me with the intent of coming together and saying, okay, economic development, who's influencing this area? Affordable housing, who's influencing this area? Because my ultimate goal is not just to develop a scorecard for Mecklenburg County organization, but for this community as a whole. Just think, and call me the naive new guy on the block, I accept that. But just think, if CMS, the City of Charlotte, our corporate partners, of course, Mecklenburg County, if we all had some version of a scorecard that identified what we want to accomplish in this community, in the space of economic development, the county, the city, we would have goals that are aligned to that desired result. Education, CMS, the county, we would have goals that align to that desired result. Public safety, the county, CMPD, whomever. That way, we're not stepping over each other. You know, we're not duplicating efforts, but instead it's coordinating. That's what my ultimate goal is. It's not gonna happen tomorrow. But that's what my plan is, and I wanna start planting those seeds in my meeting beginning in November with these guys. I shared the concept with them about the scorecard again. They're on board with it. My strategy director, he's going to balanced scorecard school next week in DC to get certified. Because it's important I have an expert on my staff that's going to lead this initiative, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'll stop there. I think I've shared enough in terms of my vision for this community, my excitement about what's to come. I shared with you some of the challenges that I'm embracing and view them as opportunities to become even more resilient. And more to come behind that. So with that, I guess I'll take questions now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So tradition here, Tommy Robinson or Ken Coons get the first question. So we're gonna have Mr. Coons, and after that, we're gonna have Ms. Carlenia Ivory.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Upward mobility, economic development, you've laid out a brilliant concept of what it is you want to accomplish. The question is, having a comparable commitment from your board behind that, and I see here in your adopted budget for fiscal year 2026, economic development incorporates $215,000 that's budgeted for that. Is that a realistic figure? Because I think you may be challenged to find an economic development director for $215,000.
Really good question. So let me give an overview of this, and then I'll come back to your question. So this infographic represents how our $2.5 billion budget is allocated across categories. In the upper left-hand corner, you see that $2.5 billion. You see that 58% of our budget is supported by property taxes and sales taxes. So again, the example I used was the tower that sold for $24 million, valued at $96 million. That's where that implication sits at, okay? You see our CIP, that's buildings. County government, we're responsible for providing infrastructure for public schools, CPCC, and of course, our government facilities as well. Where the money comes from, that's our revenue sources, all right? The bulk of it being property tax. Second in line is sales tax. Some sales tax we do have discretion over. The other sales tax articles that we don't have discretion over is dedicated to capital, infrastructure to pay our credit card bill, basically. Charges and fees, other state and federal government. That state and federal government, that $140 million. Okay, the majority of that is federal funding. And then also part of that, which is not here because it's grant funding, is another $30 million. The point I'm making is we receive about $170 million in federal revenue. So that's the dollar amount that's in question when you think about what's happening at the federal level, right? And although Mecklenburg County is fortunate to have a healthy fund balance, a rainy day fund, I can't supplant losing $170 million. Okay? I can't tax my way. Y'all run me out of time if I try to tax my way, and I should be, to make up $170 million. That's the amount that's in question in terms of the implication at the federal level. Budget highlights is just that. It highlights some of the major investments that we made. We fully funded our partners in CMS, an increase of over $28 million. We expanded make pre-K, additional 10 classrooms, fully funded medic, so forth and so on. And then where the money goes, this allocates and demonstrates and shows you how we spread our money out of that $2.5 billion. As you can see, the bulk of it goes to education and literacy. Now here's where the big debate is, right? As you see, over half of our budget goes towards education. But we have some discretion in that because counties in North Carolina supplement what the state do not fund for education. We do have some requirements, capital, when it comes to funding education, the infrastructure, and then there are some local positions that we fund as well. But because our board values education and literacy, they have decided to invest way more than what we are statutorily required to fund for public schools, and they should be recognized for that. However, when it comes to the manager recommending the budget and folks signing up to speak, that's where the debate typically falls, is with education funding, because we have discretion in terms of what we should be funding in that space as well. Now, answer your question, sir. I'm sorry, I just want to go to the infographic. It's a start. You know, we can always invest more in not just economic development, but other areas too. And in order to advance the strategies, it doesn't always require money, additional money, because we can revisit what we're currently doing to make sure we're maximizing that return as well. However, this is what I'm looking for in this new assistant county manager to advise me and the board in terms of what investments we should be making, what strategies should we be deploying as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand. You're right. This $215,000, it's a start. It's seed money. It's a start. Now, you don't see everything in the universe associated with economic development because we have some tax incentive grants and things like that to bring companies here that helps with our tax base. But in terms of what's allocated from the general fund, yeah, we can always, invest more. But I'm going to hold off doing that until we get that position in place, that person hired, and we develop a plan regarding upward mobility. Sir?
We have Ms. Carlenia Ivory.
Good morning.
Morning. Hometown.
Okay. Point of privilege, I just want to make sure, and thank you, Winston, Mary, and Laura. Last week, we had a very healthy conversation on the transit. And as I said last week, it's not that I'm opposed, I just want to make sure that people are educated and we get something in writing. When I said to James, I don't trust him, I love James Mitchell. But right now, we need to get something in writing from all members of City Council, the county, and individuals involved. With that said, Mr. Bennett, thank you for everything that you're trying to do. Couple of things, and I do have to leave, but Mary and Laura will report back. Thank you. 2 things. There were a lot of programs that were cut from your budget regarding youth, and it was advised that someone did an evaluation of the program. That's not necessarily true. So the other concern I have, you talked about all these wonderful people who are friends of ours that you're gonna put on this committee. And like I told Marcus Jones, half of you don't know where Batesford Road is. So, thank you. And so if you're gonna have, make sure you have community engagement with the grassroots individual, like who's in this room that might be able to provide feedback and help you with some of the decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. All good points. Let me start with your second one. I know Batesford Road, okay? Because you're from Fayetteville, right? I grew up on Murchison Road.
Merck.
So it's the same, the Merck, thank you.
The Merck.
So, for those of you who don't know, the Merck is the equivalent of Batesford Road. I have not forgotten my roots. My grandma get out her grave if I forget where I was brought from. That's why I'm doing this job. So I can assure you and hold me accountable, I'm not going to forget where I came from. And that's why I said, Marcus Jones, Dr. Hill, and I have a huge opportunity ahead of us. Now, regarding your question about the cuts, for those of you who don't know, this budget that was approved by the board and was recommended by our former county manager, Dina Dorio, included reductions to nonprofits, right? I've been doing budgets for over 30 years. I've never, and this is city budgets when I was with Durham, when I worked in the governor's office, and also with county. I've never been a part of a budget where it included a tax rate increase and cuts to nonprofits. That's scary. It's actually a reflection of the times we're in. Because we know that our nonprofits are extensions of government. Let's be honest, we know that these grassroots support our elected officials as well. And back in January, when we presented to the board where we are fiscally, and some of the reasons I shared with you this morning that we have to tighten up, the board told our manager, because we cut over 11 years since Dina's tenure, we cut out our budget $211 million. There was nowhere else to look but nonprofits until this 12th year were we able to avoid cutting nonprofits that do exceptional work. Not cut them because of their performance or not meeting targets, but partially because of where we find ourselves financially. So because of that, the manager and the board was locked in step to eliminate nonprofits that are funded competitively every year, to remove them from their budget. You don't see that often. Some of you guys have been around longer than me, where there's an elimination of all competitive grants and a property tax rate increase. And now, looking ahead, I have to look at our vendors. These are nonprofits that are no longer competing, but now have a contract with the county to provide services as well. Again, for the reasons that I've discussed, and I also have to present to my board a new process for their consideration on how and when we start accepting competitive applications again.
Good morning. Mr. Bryant, I'm sorry, I said that.
Yeah, Ben, I know, I got it.
Good morning,
Morning.
good evening,
Hey,
and good night. You must have known I was gonna be
I
here.
saw you over there. You gonna share?
Yes. No, I'm not. I'm so glad that you're here and you talked about accountability. You recall when I was down there with Lake Aura back in 2018. I recall when Van Malik told me to go back to the city. I'm so excited that you're going to look into housing, more. I'm gonna get to this question right here. So, I'm like Miss Ivory. My thing is that I need for you to call me or get your number, because I know people we're the boots on the ground doing some of this housing, but we never get called to that table. So, my question is that something that you're gonna do to help us out, to make sure we at that table?
Community engagement will be involved. You may not be at that meeting in November I'm talking about, but that's not the only opportunity to engage the community. However, you all will have a voice.
Ayo.
I didn't even realize you saw my hand up, thank you. I had a couple questions, but I guess I'm gonna be selfish and talk about my direct one. So I introduced myself earlier with Mental Health America. We are one of those funded nonprofit organizations. I would love to hear your thoughts on the county investment in mental health and behavioral health. I'm assuming it's a part of the 11.4 of health,
yes,
equity, and wellness. And just similarly, will we have an opportunity to come to the table as a whole to contribute to your plan?
Well, as it's noted here, it is a priority, and Commissioner Ingram, she's a huge supporter of mental health. Every time she speaks publicly, oftentimes she's referencing the importance of mental health and behavioral health as well. As I mentioned, it is a priority identified by the board. You do see what the investment is at this time. In terms of you have an opportunity to have more dialogue, at this time, I can't say what that would look like, because as I mentioned, I have to go back and design a new process for our community grants. If you're an existing provider, which you are, you continue to have dialogue, or you with Dr. Washington, the health department, you know who the department that?
Dr. Penn.
Dr. Penn, yeah, Dr. Penn, okay, good, yeah, Dr. Penn, so yeah, this Dr. Washington. So they'll continue to manage and work with you, continue to do the work that you're doing as well. However, I do have to be very transparent. That is something, the vendor application I have to look at. It's my hope that we can keep them in place, because you all do great work with partners, right? And I don't want this fiscal challenge that is approaching, that we're dealing with, to just continue to have these negative implications, because as you know, when things get tight on our end, the community need goes up, right?
Yes.
Think about recessions.
Definitely know that.
You know, we had a huge dip in revenue, the community needs went up. And we're still gonna respond to that, and we need you as well. You just gotta think differently. And that's where you come in and think differently. How can you continue to partner with us to provide the critical services that you're providing?
One of the elected officials we failed to acknowledge, about to have a question, Ms. Nancy Carter, Soil and Water.
I think you came a little late, I didn't get to recognize.
Good morning, and thank you and congratulations. And we in Soil and Water Conservation look forward to working with you.
Yes, likewise.
Talking about economic development, workforce development, opportunities, public health, we're your partners.
Great.
And we'd love to hear what your commitment is to the environmental area. Vehicles, buildings, green space, all of these things are important to our health. And what is your idea there, your hot point?
All the above. You know, that is something that I'm going to continue to build on what's in place. As you know, we have an environmental action plan. You also have a champion in Commissioner Powell that ensure that everything that we do is mindful of the environment in so many ways, not just parks, air, water quality. That will continue. The environmental action plan, it speaks to the cars, replacing the cars with EVs. I do need to reassess it to make sure that all the needs are met in terms of how we provide services, to find that balance. So there is some refining, but we're not going to scratch it. We're going to continue to pass forward, because again, it's a priority of the board, it's a priority I share as well, and we're going to keep that good work going.
Environmental justice.
Environmental justice, that's right.
All right, Joey Mayo.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joy Mayo. I actually have a question regarding, the Observer just did a piece that came out this morning about transforming nations forward. We are petitioning the county for a regional rec center at Ramblewood, ongoing conversation, but in that, the county referenced a study to identify gaps for recreation centers. I know Commissioner Griffin talked about the need for equity to be. Yes, ma'am. So how is that formatted when he's actually going to be doing these identity gaps for recreation centers with equity and focus? How is that public input going to be? Where is the transparency? We don't want this completed behind closed doors.
That was a long question.
Sorry.
So, listen, I haven't read the article.
Okay.
However, as it relates to our park planning, as you may be aware, we do have a master plan that's already in place. Now, I am aware of the interest to bring a rec center, regional rec center, not only to that area, but the other areas of the county as well. That's something staff will look into and bring to my attention with the recommendation. I don't know if you met our new Park and Rec Director, Nick. He's phenomenal.
I have not. I would love to though.
I would encourage you to meet with him. He's from Memphis, and he's done a phenomenal job in a short amount of time, and he is listening. He is listening. Now, one of the things that I'm doing with my board is I put together this, it's called Ride the District, where each commissioner, I'm spending time with them in the car, riding the district. I just did that with Commissioner Griffin on Thursday. And although he's at large, we spent a lot of time in South Charlotte, and equity was one of those things he talked about.
Thank you, Griffin.
I actually met a resident that that lives in the area where the water district is being built.
River District?
River District, thank you, River District. And the water line that the city has put in place, because they're in an unincorporated area of the county, they haven't had the opportunity to tap into that. But these are some of the advantages that I'm gleaning from riding the district with my commission. Tomorrow, I'll be with YTI. We're gonna ride the district. I think you wanna go to District 2, right?
Yes.
So to Betty's Ford Road, and other places in West Charlotte. Because this gives me the opportunity to get out of the office
And see.
in a relaxed environment and hear from my commissioners that represent all of you in terms of what's important. So I expect Commissioner YTI to call out some things, and I'll add it to the list that Commissioner Griffin and I got on Thursday, and I'm gonna compile it.
Okay.
And that'll be my homework. Okay?
Commissioner YTI, mixtape dropping soon. I love that.
Listen, I'm only doing that because I'm amongst friends. Certainly publicly is Commissioner Ingram.
Another acknowledgement to State Representative Nassif Majid, who's also with us. We will have now a question from City Council Member Malcolm Bryant.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you, Council.
On your new appointment, you talked about city-county collaboration generally around affordable housing, economic development, but I wanted to kind of drill down to homelessness, right? And the role and the collaboration effort that the city and the county have to do, because the issue is getting worse. When you drive on Bayswater Road tomorrow, you will see it. You will see it on the corner of I-85 and Sugar Creek. You will see it in uptown Charlotte. The problem is getting worse. Now we have a homeless plan that the city and the county both did 3 years ago, a home for all, but it's all talk, but action, even from the city side, is, from my perspective, been limited. What's your response?
Well, I got to toot my board's horn regarding a home for all, because they did honor their commitment. Back in, this is July, back in April, my board approved our $7 million investment to purchase the hotel for the home for all. I'm waiting on the city. I was not talking about this yesterday. I know he's planning to present his recommendation as part of the Housing Trust Fund in September for you all to honor your commitment. So it's not us against them, but my board put their money where their mouth is. Yes. Now, at a larger scale, I do agree there's opportunities beyond that. I'm still learning, I'll be very honest with you. I have to understand more about what the problem is, what the community is doing. I talked about the Alliance, the Foundation for the Carolinas, and also the grassroots. What is everybody doing? I need to understand that first. What's working? Obviously, it's not working because you still see it. I know the perspectives about the Home for All project uptown with it. I get the narrative. I know that. But I don't disagree. There's a huge opportunity ahead of us to collaborate more, design a plan. That's my hope what will come out of that. And my commitment to that is by creating this housing office. Because for the same reason you articulated, that's my observation too. But as in current state, I can't design a strategy because there's no one in my organization responsible for it. If Marcus say, Mike, let's sit down and talk about homelessness, I have to bring 3 people to the table. And I don't have anyone at a senior level role that is responsible for saying, here's what the county's gonna do in that space. Right now, I bring 3 people to say, oh, we're doing critical home repairs for folks staying in their houses. We're providing some supportive services as well, but I don't have a full A to Z strategy. So that's my gap that I own, and this is how I'm responding, in addition to my board approving those dollars, but structurally, organizationally, that's why I'm putting together a housing department so we can do just that.
Okay, we're gonna have to ask you to shorten your answers, please.
Hey, Derek.
All right, we have a question from Faith Triggs, then we're going to go to Ms. Jackie Edwards-Walton.
Good morning, I'm Faith Triggs with Habitat Charlotte Region. I want to point out my trusty intern, MJ Watkins, who's here. So I'm a maker network, so you all make sure you introduce yourselves and she practices her college scripts. My question is, I'm excited to hear about the Housing and Community Development Program. That's awesome. I would like to ask you, as a Black man in America under this administration, and particularly what's about to happen to Black and brown people in the United States of America, what is keeping you up at night, and what do we need to be thinking about that we're not thinking about?
Wow, that's loaded. What's keeping me up at night is squandering this opportunity. I can't say it no more plainer than that. If you think about the individuals across this entire community that serve in leadership roles, and who we are, what we look like, and the opportunities that we have to serve the entire community, but specifically to your question, what keeps me up at night, and what I would view as a huge failure, even on my part, if we squander this opportunity that we have today on July 8, 2025. It will be tough for me to be blessed, big in my faith, to be granted this powerful position that I have as your county manager, to say I haven't did anything to improve the quality of life for the Black and brown men and women, that particularly those that are experiencing social issues that I did growing up, exposed to drugs, domestic violence, alcohol, evicted, Section 8, all those things that I experienced growing up as a child. And now I've been blessed in a community that I have grown to love, to now have an opportunity to partner with others that look like me to improve the quality of life. But the folks you just described, that's what keeps me up at night. Because I failed you, I failed me, and I failed my grandmother.
We have a question from Ms. Jackie Edwards-Walton.
Good morning. My question is similar to that of Joy. We had someone from Park and Rec come early part of the year, and on the west side, we are looking for a regional center similar to the one that are at Eastway and Huntersville. similar. We don't want a little replica.
Yeah, I will say this, there is an awareness about that interest. I know the facility that's on Tuskegee Road. I know the condition of it as well. And I'll just say that there are conversations internally about that need, and we'll see what happens, okay?
Thank you.
All right, we have a question from James, and we're gonna go to Robin.
Thank you. Congratulations. I was actually at your induction. Thank you and your beautiful family. My name is James Lockhart, and I am from Bakersford Road, born and raised. And to hear everybody talking about park and rec, education, recreation, opportunity. West Charlotte Center. I grew up playing basketball there. IO's people, Kennedy Meeks, grew up playing basketball there. It has not changed in 50 years. It is the same. My question is, when is the West Side recreation going to be put to the top of the list for county improvement? What do we need to do as grassroots organizations to make that happen? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I can. In terms of what you need to do, you heard the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Continue to squeak. Public hearings, all those things, come down and speak. Now, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little more in terms of how I'm leading the organization. So on my staff, my executive team is Dr. Leslie Johnson, who is responsible for park and recreation. And I told Doc, as I call her, we worked together for over 20 years in different capacities. And I said, Doc, when it comes to our community, you, me, we have a huge opportunity. I know I keep saying that, but we do, that's a fact. When I look at our community, you think about the North Regional. How many of you all go there? Yeah, how many of you been there?
I've been there.
Been there.
You see who's attending, right?
Not us.
You said it, not me. Okay? But the intent behind it is to serve individuals that don't have the opportunity to sign up to go to the Y.
Exactly.
Right? The same in Eastway. Same thing. The intent behind it is to serve that community of residents that cannot afford a membership at the Y, Gold's Gym, and the like. But all you gotta do, you go there after here. You go after this meeting and walk in and observe and see who you see. That intent does not necessarily come to full fruition. I'm having conversations with my team about that as well. It's an unintended consequence, is what I call it, right? We have to be mindful of that. So, as I talk to Dr. Johnson and Nick, our new Park and Rec Director, these are lessons learned as we look at other opportunities and facilities in this community to make sure we fulfill that intent as well. So, the planning, the master plan that's already in place, they're taking a look at that. I'm not in a position today to tell you what that analysis is going to bring forward to me. But what I can tell you, and pulling the curtain back, meeting the need of our community sits high on Dr. Johnson's agenda. This social mobility, upper mobility position is reported to Dr. Johnson, not to me. Because I know where her heart is, I know where her interest is, and I know she gets it as well. So the conversations are occurring. The review, like I said, I just got sworn in last week, right? So I'm going to build on our successes, but there's some things that I'm going to do differently. And making sure that the entire community is served is a priority of mine because it's a shared priority with my board.
All right, Ms. Bryant, I have the next question. So we learned about, you know, your fiscal year 26 and the things you'd like to implement, align with where we are with today's climate. After you get acclimated to the seat, been there a few years and the storm has passed, what are some elements you would like to implement into Mecklenburg County that you feel would be successful, or what are your loftiest goals to for things in that seat?
Well, I don't want it to go too far out, but part of that checklist is having a performance structure in place. And then also managing to the results of my deep dive assessment on our budget as well. And then the third, close second first, is having this collaboration that I talked about in motion, in full motion. It's gonna take some time. But again, going back to the council's question, collaborating, coordinating enterprise, organizational strategies, all of that I hope will come out of these conversations for the long-term benefit of this community.
We have Robin.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate your vision. I'm interested to learn your thoughts on this idea of affordable housing. It's so often talked about as a destination. How do you see it as a platform for upward mobility that you speak of? And then you have Tom Hinton's book, so I would love a perspective on that point of view as well.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a destination, it's a journey.
Right.
And this is why, again, to my board's credit, back in 2018, they recognized it's just that a journey, and it takes all of us. It's critical. When you talk about our residents being self-sufficient, having affordable housing is important. And when you talk about affordable housing, you're not just talking about folks below the poverty line. You're talking about educators, you're talking about firefighters, you're talking about police officers, you're talking about social workers. You know, the conversation I've had with Commissioner Griffin is this shrinking middle, the missing middle class. You know, these are folks that are the backbone of this community. These are folks that have the mom and pop businesses. They're the heartbeat, but they can't afford to stay in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. So when you think about affordable housing, you gotta make sure that you understand who are the individuals we're talking about. It's not just these folks at 30, 40% of AMI. It's a lot more of this middle class that we have to think about how we're going to support them. It's been in the news, so you all heard about Teacher Village, you know, building homes, affordable homes for teachers. That's something that's being explored, but that's just one population. You know, if I'm gonna partner, and I mean this respectfully, with CMS to possibly come up with a solution for a teacher village, I gotta think about my social workers, because they too make the same salaries as well. We're in this together. And there's regulations and statutes and all those things that we must abide by when you talk about dedicating housing to certain populations, workforce development housing. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna be in compliance. And we just have to think strategically and creatively. But affordable housing is a huge priority.
All right, Mr. Combs.
Well, one of the first things I want to recognize is that the accepted term of black community suggests that black community is a monolithic area. And in such, the empty wagon gets the wheel, gets the noise. Baby Sport Road is the empty wagon. But there are other communities across Charlotte, Mecklenburg, equally, and in some cases more so, deserving of those efforts. And in achieving those efforts, on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the best, how do you rate the relationships between the county and both state and congressional delegations moving forward to accomplishing your goals that you choose to set forth?
I can only speak to it from a staff perspective. You know, of course, there's intergovernmental relationships between my board, state and federal levels as well. From a staff perspective, you know, we try to ensure that in partnering with our board, we have our legislative agenda together. We can say that this is what's important in Mecklenburg County and present that to our delegation and ask that they be considerate as they go do the work that they do. In some cases, we're successful. In other cases, we're not. You know, it just depends on the lay of the land in terms of what the General Assembly makeup is, and then of course what Congress is at the federal level. So there's always room for improvements, but as long as I've been around, I think it's just as good as it's been in the past in terms of some level of coordination. But you might get a different perspective if you would ask my board.
Ayo.
Thank you. I'd like to understand that the knowledge behind the numbers, that people seem to be moving here really high numbers, and we are increasingly becoming a very popular tourist destination. Why is our sales tax revenue declining? I just don't understand.
That's a good question. You know, and those are conversations we have internally. I have an economist on my staff, and what we conclude based on assumptions is, yeah, you know, folks are still moving here, but in terms of the volume of shopping that they're doing, that translates into sales tax that are discretionary, we just don't see that. Is what I'm being told. You think about the housing market, you know, where we are with the housing market, housing going up and things like that. That too, it's not sales tax, it's property tax. But we do get some benefits when the deeds close. We get some revenue from that as well. But sales tax wise, there's some uncertainty there, but we're seeing that slowdown. And then also, get a little more technical here, but part of the sales tax includes refunds. For example, if somebody shops here, but they reside in another community, once the state, you know, look at all of that, we have to refund that back to the state so they can allocate it back to where it's supposed to go. So there's a lot of uncertainty and challenges when you're trying to project your sales tax forecast, because you have to factor the refunds and try to understand why, to your point, 117 people moving here daily to this region, why are we experiencing this slowdown? But we are. Good question. Wish I had an answer.
I tell you what, I'm sure those Amazon vans that I see in my neighborhood so often. Part of that. We're gonna go back to Joy.
Yeah, quick question about, the county is planning to build a community resource center on Nations Ford. It's projected to break ground in 2027. How do you plan to be proactive so that you have more attendance than the Ellis Gardsboro one that, you know, was reported had severely low attendance for that huge, you know, multi-million-dollar investment that y'all had?
It was reported that the attendance was low, however, it has since picked up. That's because of, to the credit of our communications department and marketing at the BCW, the Valley Woodard Center, promoting that, hey, we have this other option. The leadership over at our community resource center, they had these events on Saturdays where there's like a bouncy house, you know, hot dogs and things like that to get the neighborhood excited about it. And it's translated to success. So we're seeing more traffic there. And as it relates to the new facility, they're taking those lessons learned and they're being considerate of that. So, and I'm not, this is an example, I'm not saying this was gonna happen, but let's say they may decide to scale back some of the square footage. Or they might decide to have a certain unit there that's, you know, child services as opposed to adult services. Don't quote me on that, I see you writing, I'm just giving you an example. I'm giving you an example.
Part of that conversation though? Can the community be part of that? How do you make the determination?
Okay, we have one question.
Sorry.
Yeah, potentially. But that's an example, that's not fact. I'm just telling you that they're applying lessons learned from the first two centers with the new center that's coming out of the ground.
Okay.
All right. All right, Joy, you know the rules.
Sorry.
All right, we got Cheryl Emanuel in the back.
Sure.
I'm Michael, again, congratulations.
Thank you, Cheryl.
One quick question. What can we do to continue to help seniors that are living in neighborhoods that own their houses, but be able to afford their increased tax? I get more calls now from seniors that are struggling. And they don't know what their options and how to navigate the county. Is there a way that we could do much more education so those that do own their houses in these traditional communities that they don't lose?
You're exactly right. As you see on the infographic, senior services is one of the board priorities. The current tool that we have, a couple of tools in the toolbox that we have, is critical home repair. And we can't do enough of that, you know, because of the need. But the board did invest more this past fiscal year in critical home repair, which supports seniors. So instead of them having to move or live in unacceptable conditions, we have a team that can go out there and repair their home so they can continue to reside in their place. And then also, as you know, Cheryl, there are some tax programs that we have as well that's based on income. Our board, the last 3 or 4 years ago, put together a plan where, depending eligibility, you can get a grant to offset your tax bill
I
as
think
well.
that's what many of them understand.
We don't do back and forth, yes, man. Well, thank you for the tomatoes, but we did not do back and forth. We'll come back to you with another question. Right now, we have Representative Majid.
Manager Bryant, gentrification is looming all over the United States. It's a big issue that we're facing. From the county perspective, what are some of the techniques, ways that you deal with gentrification?
I wish I had a silver bullet for that. You're right, we see that occurring in our communities. That kind of gets back to Council Brown's question about not just the homelessness, but how can we respond to the gentrification that's going on. And again, I'm hoping that some of the work that'll come out of this housing department I'm putting together, because we need more tools and strategies to address that. But the county can't do that alone, you know that. It's going to take collaboration, partnership with other entities, which I'm open to doing.
We have a question from another elected elected official, representative, the president of the McCrory Heights Neighborhood Association.
How you doing?
Mr. Sean.
Sean Lang, McCrory Heights. My question is, the Cross Charlotte Trail seems to only go north to south, and yet we want connections east to west. Particularly along Beatty's Ford Road, there's a collection of neighborhoods, Oaklawn Park, McCrory Heights, Lincoln Heights, that would love to see a greenway connection that we can have to get access uptown. It's somewhat necessary, especially given the fact that, part of the property was taken to build interstates and all these different things, but a different way in which we can a form of recreation, but also a form of transportation, exercise. We all know Black people at this point in our lives, we definitely need an outlet. So just trying to think about the outlet of creating a greenway on the east-west side.
And economic development too associated with that. I have to look at my capital improvement plan and master plan to see what the plans are regarding greenways, because I know there are some plans in the work in terms of addressing gaps. We also utilize some of our American Rescue Plan Act funding to go towards investments in greenways and park and recs as well. So I need to take a look at that to see where that stands. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Johnson and our park and rec director, they're revisiting that master plan based on community needs and gaps to make sure they're addressing it. So I just have to see what they're bringing forward.
All right, we got James and the gentleman in the back.
Thank you again. With all due respect, Mr. Bryant, I'm hearing today, and it excites me to hear a lot of people talking about the West Side and what we need. I just want to say really quick that if anybody, gentleman over there, if anybody wants to stay after and talk, because the only way we're going to be able to do anything is get together and then approach Mr. Bryant and whoever. The only way we're going to do it is to get together. We can't do it one neighborhood here, one neighborhood there. We have got to plan. And I mean, a lot of you older people who pre-segregation, you guys know, you guys did the blueprint, you guys did the work. The younger people, we have to take that up. But I'm asking if anybody wants to stay after 10, 15 minutes, let's just talk about trying to plan. I'd be willing to do that. Thanks.
And let me add this, thank you for that. And when you plan, have a solution.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a while. I got a good sense of what the problems are. And part of it comes to affordability and priorities. But if you come to me with a tight plan that is well thought out and strategic, and I can clearly gauge what the return will be, that's where you make progress. If you just ask me questions over and over and over again about stuff I already know, what's gonna come out of that? But I may go in other communities, and not only am I getting the question, but here's the proposal and plan too. And it's often solid. So to your point, we gotta reprogram how we think and show up and how you engage me. Okay? Because if I probably was out in my car and I said, these are 10 questions I'm probably gonna be asked, and I shared with you the list of questions, I can assure you it'll be consistent with what I'm hearing today, which I respect and appreciate. But I need solutions from you all too. You reside in our communities, you reside there, you know what the answers are. You know? So as you have those conversations, I challenge you to also come up with the solutions as well. And that way we can sit down and have a conversation about working towards that solution.
All right, before we go to the gentleman in the back, we have Ms. McClady, but also, James, there's a HAWINA meeting this Saturday at 8:30 a.m. at Johnson C. Smith, Historic West End Neighborhood Association. All right, Ms. McClady.
Mr. Bryant, my question is in reference to our history here in Mecklenburg County. Most of us here knew our representative, our council, our city, county commissioner, Mr. Bob Walton. And we had a building that was the Bob Walton building, and it is no longer there. Now that we have the Ella Scott Earls building and the Bella Wooded Center, how can we bring something back to the community in Bob Walton's name, because he was really very strong and supported our community. And are we going to make sure that we preserve those buildings so we won't have the problem that Jackie is talking about in Tuckasegee in our communities? And I know that they are located in strategic places where they may be around for a long time, but are there any opportunities for us to name something after Bob Walton, because he was one of our first?
Yeah, I agree. I did not have the pleasure of serving under Commissioner Walton, but I've heard a lot of great things about him. And as you may know, that facility was demolished associated with development. And I don't have a crystal ball to say 15, 20 years from now, is there going to be development that will impact BCW or the LB Scarborough facility? I don't know. But in terms of what can we do, that doesn't just rest with the county. You know, it's not, I mean, others can, you know, decide to dedicate a facility like the Harvey Gantt facility as well. But in terms of what can Mecklenburg County do to preserve our history as it relates to naming facilities and things like that, I'm sure the county, that the opportunity you talked about, the new CRC, you know, that we're building, that may be an opportunity for naming opportunities, but I can't guarantee that.
All right, Shane, you're gonna close us out with the last question before Mr. Bryant has his closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations again on your appointment. Excited to work with you and your team. I just wanted to add to the point the gentleman here made about greenways in East and West Charlotte. We've been advocating with other community partners for years to increase funding for Park and Rec, and had some success with commissioners as well. But the West Side and East Charlotte have really been neglected when it comes to Park and Rec investments, as well as North Charlotte, particularly around greenways. You know, the Cross Charlotte Trail has been a huge success, and you know, applaud the county for their investments there. But the fact is, that's the South Charlotte Trail, and we need something similar to that, East and West Charlotte. There's been talk, as you may have heard, about Cross Charlotte Trail too, that does connect East and West. So I really just wanted to add and echo the need for more investment in East and West Charlotte, as well as North Charlotte when it comes to Park and Rec and Greenway connectivity in particular.
Yeah, thank you for underscoring that. What I will respond to that is, out of all the advocacy groups that we have in the county, one of the strongest ones is the Park Advisory Committee. They attend our meetings routinely. They're constantly advocating for parks across this entire county. I don't know if you have a connection with them or not, but they are a huge advocate that has the ear of our board members. And a A lot of what they're asking for just over in the past has been included in the master plan. So they're a strong advocacy group that I would suggest, if you were not connected with, that you do so.
All right, Ms. Bryant, please give us some closing thoughts.
Well, I'll start out in the way I started. One, thanking you. Thanking the forum for this opportunity to speak with you. I enjoyed my time. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you my vision for my organization and the county as a whole. And I just leave you with this. I can't accomplish this alone. I can't. I need you all to continue to be active and do your part in seeing this community through. Come together, have these conversations, come up with solutions, and then let's sit down and talk. That's the way we're going to get that desired change. So I'm happy to come back another time, but thank you for listening, and feel free to reach out to me outside of this meeting if you want to have more dialogue. Thank you and have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, newly appointed county manager, Mr. Accountable, Mr. Michael Bryant. We're going to go into announcements, and we have the first announcement from Ms. Maleta Forwood.
Thank you so much. You guys have heard me mention this for some time, and I'm excited to say it's finally here. The Soul of Philanthropy, the exhibit based on a reimagining of the book Giving Back by me and Charles Thomas is opening on July 15th at Charlotte Museum of History. It will run from July 15th through October 19th. Please come to see philanthropy differently. Stay tuned. There's a whole host of programming associated with it as well. In fact, on July 19th, Rosalind Allison Jacobs asked me to make this announcement in conjunction with the Soul of Philanthropy announcement, that there will be a program called The Soul of West Boulevard, held at Stratford Richardson Y on the 19th, Saturday, July 19th from 2 to 4. It will celebrate the legacy of the contemporary work and the future of West Boulevard. So please come out and check it out, and stay tuned for other programming now through the fall.
That's all right. Shout out 1500 Block. Mr. Jim Peace, Golden Walk, all that.
Good morning. Mecklenburg County Commissioner Yvette Townsend Ingram wanted me to pass along that she is holding a community meeting on Thursday, July 17th at 6:30 p.m. at Eastway Regional Rec Center with a focus on minority economic development, with focus on connecting the local community to opportunities on the international stage.
All right, I got an announcement from Georgetta Dixon, aka Gigi Dixon from Wells Fargo, who is also a member of the local chapter of NAACP. She is looking for volunteers. If you would like to volunteer with the national conference, please send an email to steve@sjohnston@tuesdayforumcharlotte.org. Any other announcements? The convention is.
I was getting ready to say July. It starts this week because I am one of those volunteers, and it'll go to the 16th. The hub will actually kick off on Friday, and it's absolutely free and open to the public.
And the hub is a consortium of small businesses that will be on display at the convention center if you want to shop and help us out with their retail spending. No, does that go to us? Shop Charlotte at the vendors at the hub.
Good morning. Southeast Regional Conference on Mental Health will be held here in Charlotte at the UNC Charlotte Conference Center on Thursday, October 30th. We do have a call for speakers and exhibitors open. If you want more information, please see me after the meeting.
Thank you so much. Oh man, we got, I'm sorry, James. James, we got a super important announcement.
Just wondering if you guys are listening to the podcast, please check out my podcast. It's called The Fordcast, after Bedford Road, The Fordcast with Jim Rico.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, Cheryl Emanuel, please stand. All the way from down east, she brought us some sweet tomatoes in the back.
Good morning, family. Please help yourself. Probably could have bought more, but I went to the farm.
That's right.
So fresh tomatoes if you're interested.
Ripened by that down east country sun. It is 6 inches from the ground. So please get some tomatoes on your way out Ladies and gentlemen, that will do this installment for the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Morning Forum. Join us again next week. It is absolutely free, that week only. Our guests will be incredible. Dr. Thomas, play us out.